Lots of ups and downs in the pharma sector of late. It's not only India, a lot of global companies are feeling the pressure. But nevertheless, a lot of green shoots have also been emerged as far as some of the pharma sector news is concerned. I have a very special guest with me. We have Dr. Murtaza Khorakiwala of Wockhardt Limited. Thank you, sir, so much for speaking to Bloomberg.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah. Let's start with something basic. As a participant of the pharma market, what's your sense of what's going on globally in India as far as the pharma sector is concerned, in terms of, in terms of pricing, in terms of competition? So your first-hand view on that, sir.
Well, I think as far as the Indian sector is concerned and Indian market is concerned, I think the last 2 years have been quite difficult for pharma industry, mainly because of demonetization which came 2 years back and the GST impact of last year.
Okay.
But having put that behind us, I think going forward, the future for pharma industry in India, if there are no disturbances like have happened in the past 2 years,
okay,
I think is generally very positive.
Okay.
And pharma industry over the last 20-25 years has always grown by double digit. And I expect that we will return to the positive and robust growth that we had in pharma industry in the past.
Okay.
So I think overall for Indian market and Indian scenario, it looks very positive and optimistic, and with some of the headwinds behind us, it should be back on track.
So India has never been a problem for most of the pharma companies, even yours. The growth is coming there, except for this hiccup that you said in terms of demonetization and GST. Your view on the global pharma space, overseas markets, what's your sense there?
I think overall, if we look at the generic industry in pharma outside India, whether it is US or UK or Europe or emerging market, the Indian pharma sector has done a phenomenal job in the last 15 to 20 years because of the strength of the local industry in the last, over the last 40 years. At a global level, we are extremely competitive and have been very successful in penetrating the markets outside India. Like,
okay,
for example, in the US market, the Indian pharma manufacturing companies have a market share of about 30% in the generic industry. And US is by far the most competitive market in the world. So as a whole, if you see, the Indian pharma companies outside India have done very well in the last 20-25 years. They have developed a very good, strong, competitive position. And the generic industry as a whole, because of the reducing patent cliff on one hand, and the robust competitive dynamics of the Indian manufacturers, is becoming more competitive, is becoming more price conscious. And the blue oceans or the areas where niche opportunities are available are becoming less and less. But that does not mean that it is not a big market, it's not an attractive market, and the generic market will always be there. And but there are more people fighting for the same pie. So the competitive pressure and intensity has increased.
Okay. You were developing 4 drugs under the US FDA's QIDP. What's the update there? Basically, antimicrobial drugs that you were manufacturing. Can you share some updates on that?
Sure. I think we are very proud as a company of the new chemical entity and antibiotics that we have done research on over the last 20 years, and now they are in clinical development, and pretty soon we'll be launching them. In fact, one of the products, that is 7712-349, we have completed the phase 3 clinical trial in India, and we will be launching it sometime early next year.
Okay.
There is another product, 2 products which are in global clinical development,
okay,
where we are taking the clinical development and doing it at a global level. And these are hospital injectable products, where we are developing them in the US market, Europe market for global launch.
Okay.
I believe that these products will complete their development over the next 2 years. And henceforth, we'll be looking at launching them in US and some of the European markets.
How big is this market for you? Can you put in a number of how big you envisage this market to be for you? And what phase of clinical trials are these drugs in?
So as I said, in a NCE molecule, since it is innovative kind of a molecule, and there is no specific benchmark that is always there, sometime closer to the launch of the product, we will be able to come to a more accurate forecasting and a sense of the potential of the market and how big these products can actually become.
Okay.
But suffice to say, they are far bigger than any generic product we have. There's a huge amount of investment that goes into that, and there are very large opportunities in the US and Europe. As far as the clinical development is concerned, as I said, one molecule has finished phase 3 clinical development in India, and we'll be launching that early next year. And the 2 other products are undergoing or about to start the phase 3 clinical development at a global level.
Okay.
And that would get completed over the next 2 years or so. And following that, we'll be applying and launching the products.
Yeah, so I think the market is quite excited about the NCE pipeline that you have. Apart from these 4 products, what update can you share in terms of what your plans is in terms of your NCE pipeline?
Additionally, I think other than these products which are in development, we have also inaugurated a facility in Dubai.
Okay.
Where one of the molecules will be launching from that facility. And we are put up investment in the Dubai facility.
Okay.
And so that is as far as one of those products supply is there. In addition to that, there is our entire drug discovery team of more than 80 people who are constantly looking at newer molecules in antibiotic space. In fact, one of the first things that we did over 25 years back, our drug discovery team was only focused in one area.
Okay.
And that was the antibiotic area. And that is why over time, we have got such a rich and a robust pipeline of drugs.
Okay.
And they're all coming out around the same time.
Okay. Couple of tough questions, and obviously the market always wants to know with Wockhardt what's the update with the plants. It's been a while since there has been any communication in what's happened to the plants which are under the import alert. So can you give us a current status update there, sir?
Yeah, I think overall we have done a lot of work in terms of the remediation and in terms of addressing the concerns of FDA. So over the last many years, we have invested a lot of research, a lot of resources, I mean, in various aspects. One is in the people and the organization part of it, in technology, and in the entire quality systems and quality management systems. So there is a lot of work that we have done in terms of remediation at various facilities. And we are in discussion with FDA in terms of presenting the kind of work that we have done and answering the questions that they have. So there has been progress. It is moving ahead. There is no, at this point of time, anything specific to share in terms of any conclusion or in terms of resolution of any issue. But I think at the overall, I would say that we are on the right track, and we are moving ahead in addressing the issues that are there. We are adopting a phase-wise approach, where we are looking at one facility at a time, and looking at getting one facility out at a given point of time. Recently, we also strengthened our quality organization with Dr. Rajesh Kapoor, who has joined us as a head and president of quality. So I think there is a progress, there is movement ahead, but nothing specific to share in terms of outcome.
So you said you're looking at one plant at a time. So which is the first plant that you all are clearly focusing on that you would want to get out of the import?
So in Aurangabad, we have our EOU facility, which is in Waloj and Biotech area. And it is an oral solid facility. So that is the first plant we are looking at, where we have invested a lot in terms of remediation, and which is the first plant where we are discussing with FDA for resolving the issues.
Are you totally ready with all your remediations at Waloj, or is there still more quality inspection or investments that are needed that you be totally FDA compliant so that when they come, they don't find any issues?
So we are, as I said, we have done a lot of work, and a lot of areas improvement is also an ongoing activity.
Okay.
But we have done most of the work and a fairly substantial amount of work towards compliance. And we believe that in the next coming months, we will be in a position where we can discuss very strongly with the FDA as to what are the next steps ahead.
Okay, so you're saying in the next few months you will get into communication with the US FDA to start to come back and re-inspect the Waluj plant.
Yeah,
you would be in that position that you would be able to do it.
Yeah, we have done majority of the work, and we are towards the end of most of the work that the FDA, we believe, expects of us, and we are in very close communication with the FDA in terms of what are the next steps from their point of view, and what is it that they expect in terms of us as a company.
Okay, and the other plants, Chikalthana, you have your Ankleshwar plant, you have your Morton Grove plant. What are you doing there? What's the update there?
So as far as the India facilities, we are doing one at a time, because unless we feel that the approach, the strategy and the resolution is not there of one facility, it doesn't make sense doing everything at one time. So we are doing one facility at a time, and we are progressing that and moving ahead.
Okay. In terms of you, I think earlier in some of the interactions, Wockhardt had indicated that you're looking to shift production to some third party in terms of certain critical drugs. Is that still on? Is that plan still on?
Yes. We have done that over the last 1.5 to 2 years, where we have shifted some of the US products that were there to third party. So that plan is very much underway, and it is an ongoing activity.
Okay. The other thing that the market had one concern was that you have one critical drug, Toprol, which we did extremely well for you. How is it that despite so many years you were not able to like just to give an example, DV's lab could get exception for certain drugs that could be shipped out to the US. For certain drugs, how come Wockhardt wasn't able to do it? Did you approach the FDA to make exceptions for certain drugs to be shipped out?
So FDA has their own criteria by which they allow products to be exempted from import control. So in fact, there is a product that we are manufacturing at our EOU facility, which is exempt from import control. But it doesn't happen to be Toprol. There is another product which the FDA has allowed us to manufacture from there. And they have their own criteria by which they decide which product they should allow for exemption. So we have no way by which we can influence that decision.
Let's talk about the US market and the drugs that you already supply there. How are you facing scenario in the US market? Are you seeing growth coming in there? What kind of sales do you need to do in the US so probably you break even? And once the operating leverage probably kicks in, how do you see margins in the US business?
So as I said, there is a more competitive pressure in terms of the pricing in the generic market in the US, and I think that will stay. And therefore, the challenge is to identify within that the opportunities where we can, where either there is a technology barrier or some barriers there, where the level of competition is a little bit lower, and then you can have better margins and better opportunities. So, and of course, once our remediation issue is resolved and the import alert is taken off from our facility, definitely we will be using our internal facilities for some of the new products also that we have developed and which we will file, and which we have filed in the past. And the overall outlook of the US business will significantly improve.
Is majority of the investments that went into remediation done for the facilities, or do you foresee more cost that will come in for remediation?
No, I think most of the remediation efforts that we have done is by and large completed. And I think we will be looking at not the same level of intensity of resources that we have invested in the past on remediation to continue going forward. And that would scale down quite significantly since we are nearing completion of most of the work for the first site.
What's your status of the ANDA, status of ANDA filings, be it from your own stable or third party for some of the drugs?
So we have about 70 ANDAs which are pending with the FDA. And once some of these facilities get inspected and approved, so then all the ANDAs we have filed from there can be made available to the US market. Some of them are pending facility compliance, where only the facility is the issue, and some of them are in stages of evaluation at the regulatory end.
So that's why. The other thing I wanted to ask is, what's your focus on R&D going ahead? Are you looking at newer areas, maybe biosimilars? What's your strategy in that front?
So as far as R&D is concerned, I think there are three verticals that we have. One is the generic vertical, where I think we are looking at more, we are not looking at the number of products we are filing, but we are looking at the kind of opportunity, the technology that is there, and looking at a differentiated portfolio. In biosimilars, we have an insulin portfolio, insulin and glargine, which is already introduced in India and a large number of emerging markets. And we are looking at taking that to the US also. So we have a biosimilar portfolio around insulin products. And a third element of our research is our antibiotic new drug discovery portfolio, which is the most exciting and the most differentiated and novel in its own way.
What about debt on the books? Because there again seems to be concerns about how debt will be repaid. There's preference share redemption. How is Wockhardt looking to repay this? What's your strategy in terms of deleveraging?
There are a lot of discussions ongoing in that regard, so I wouldn't like to get too much into details regarding that. But I think overall, if I look at it, we do have at this point of view, because of the investment we have done in our research, a certain level of debt. But I think we feel comfortable with the operating cash flows that will emerge in the next 6 months and in the next year. We should be okay in terms of being able to manage that level of debt.
Since you're here, a lot of rumors and news float around, so I just wanted to get some clarifications. Are you looking to sell any part of your business, be it the India business, be it some of the foreign subsidiaries? Is that something that's on your mind? Because I want a clarification, because there are rumors that are floating around. So from the horse's mouth.
No, I mean, I would not like to comment either way on that, but we are very strongly believe that the businesses that we are in, we are in the right businesses, and we are looking at growing the businesses and developing the business. And we feel that in every business there are huge opportunities that are available where we are for growing the business. We have had a little bit of a tough time in terms of our financials over the last 1.5 years, because both two things have happened. One is our US business, which was quite significant, has gone down. And second is our continued investment in the future. But having said that, I believe that from a future point of view, the business growth that is there will start kicking in. And I think we should be quite comfortable in the managing our debt.
And the last question is that there were news of pretty much equity raising that the company was pretty much looking at. Any clarity on that, sir?
Some of these are actually in progress and ongoing. So it is too early for me to say anything on that regard. But there are various options that we are considering, and it's all work in progress.
And finally, I said it was the last question, but I have one more follow-up, sir. I just want to reiterate back on the fact that, since debt was a concern and the street has this concern, is India business is something that you're looking to sell? Because you've sold your nutrition portfolio earlier, so that was there to deleverage at one point of time. So is that an option that you would consider? Have you spoken to anyone? Has anyone approached you? I just want clarity on this, so that if there are rumors floating, there is closure to those rumors.
No, absolutely not. India business is one of in fact, India business is about 35-40% of our business today, and is one of the main growth drivers in the business. We are looking to significantly invest in that. We are launching our new chemical entity in the Indian market in early next year. And diabetes is another area of focus for India business. So I think India business is one of the growth engines of our company. And we believe that it is a very strong, healthy business that we have, and it will continue to remain so.
Thank you, Dr. Khorakiwala. It was very nice talking to you. You've been absolutely candid and frank enough to take some of the tough questions that we have, that the street has. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.